Welcome to our AUC Author Series. In this series of interviews, we highlight the creative and academic works of our Atlanta University Center members. Today we are here with Dr. Reverend William Holt, who is the head of circulation. Thank you very much for being here.
Good to be here.
Okay, good. We are going to be talking today about your new book that has just come out, Getting into God's Will, Philippians Verse by Verse Study Notes.
Yes.
So we're happy to have you here. Dr. Holt, I was wondering what led you to do this commentary?
Well, when I was a student in 1985 at Morehouse School of Religion, I was also the interim pastor at West 100th Street Baptist Church. Dr. Ralph David Abernathy gave me the permission to teach anything that I want. So what happened was I kept all of my notes. Here it is about 10 years later. I kept all of my notes and I decided to put it in a book form. So this is how that book came about.
Okay. Now, what is it that had you pick the book of Philippians? What about that is special for you?
Well, it was special because I always ask my students, what book do you like to study? And 50% of the students said that they wanted to study the book of Philippians. So we picked that particular book.
Okay, good. Now, I know, could you tell me a little bit about the construction? Because when I'm looking through it, I see questions, I see some word searches. Mm-hmm. Why did you do it in the way that you did? And what's involved in this?
Well, what we did was, in the beginning of each chapter of the book, we call it a word find. Every chapter of Philippians, I took all the main words out of the chapter and put it in a word find puzzle. So you have to go through and find all the main words in the puzzle because that helps the students to decide this is what we're going to study. So then we give a brief meaning of each word, what it meant, right, from a Greek standpoint.
So do you include at the end questions for consideration, or?
Yeah, the question to expand your thought on what you thought about what you just studied, a question to help you to understand what the book of Philippians was about.
Okay. Does this, talking a little bit about the intended audience, does this work well in a church Sunday morning class? Does it work well for students at seminary? Does it work well for a home Bible study?
Yeah, if for all three groups, but the main purpose was for Sunday school, for Sunday morning Sunday school. And it really was written for the Sunday school purpose to help students to understand how the Bible came about, what the book of Philippians was about, and so on.
All right. Tell me a little bit about this process. I'm interested in anybody who dares to write a book about writer's block, about how much time did it take you? Did you sit down? Did you have a separate place? What was the process that went into this? Well, it
really was a long process. And really, I have about 5 books that's already written from my notes standpoint. So this is my first. I took all of my notes, went over all my meaning of the words, went to all of the major libraries in Georgia. It was in Pitts, of course, Robert W. Woodruff Library here at Atlanta University Center. It was Columbia and Luther Rice. I went to every library I could think of to get study material to help me to write the book. And I put all of that material together to come up with this one book.
Okay. So in essence, you're trying to, were you trying to boil it down so a lay person, not that they aren't intelligent, but so that a lay person who doesn't study the Bible all the time is able to understand what's being said here?
Yeah, that's one of the main purposes, to simplify it, to make it more easy for them to understand it, to make it user-friendly, to give them something to exercise to do in the book, to help them to better understand the book of Philippians.
Okay. Now, I know reading through a lot of commentaries, some of them have Greek words every other sentence, and you're struggling over that. How did you get beyond that and yet give them the meaning behind the words?
I really use a resource that most of us have, and that is the concordance from a lexicon standpoint, took those words from that, and because it's written from a Greek standpoint, to help them to understand what that word really actually meant from the biblical standpoint from that time period.
Right. Do you find that, I want to hear a little bit about how the book sort of helps with transformation of people. Your hope is that they'll be able to understand Philippians a little better. So what goes beyond that? How do you want them to walk out of the room after having read this?
Well, one of the things is that we can take this book, take what we have in the book, to really put it in your life practice, and that would help you in your walk as you go through if you're going through some type of trial, right. If you're going through some kind of something that you really don't understand how to get through, this book will help you to deal with that, give you a perspective of how to push on through.
Right. As I was looking at this, though, I was thinking that even a pastor could benefit from reading this and using it for their sermon preparation, in that it just seems like it was very accessible to the person in the pew. Do you see it being used possibly for that as well?
Of course. Matter of fact, some of my pastor friends is already using it, not only to teach their church with it, but also to help them in their sermon preparation.
All right, good. Mm-hmm. So when you're at home and you're trying to find a place to write and things are going crazy in the background, how do you get into that writing mode? Do you have a separate room? Do you go someplace? Do you go to a library, lock yourself in? What do you do?
Sometimes I lock myself in a room. Sometimes I lock myself here at the library here in the study carrel, where it's peace and quiet. And sometimes, Brad, sometimes I even lock myself in a noisy place. I find myself working sometimes better in a noisy area, especially when in a situation like this.
Okay, because does that help you really focus on it, so it's a more intense focus for you?
Yes.
Okay. When you think about all the education you went through, so your undergrad, your MDiv, your DMin, I think there's something in between there too that I missed, right? Mm-hmm. So all of that is, and then you're distilling it down. Was that moving backwards sort of a hard process, to getting all that education and then bringing it down to a place that everybody could understand it?
Well, my education standpoint, it helped me to write better, help me to look at material, to reduce it down to a size where people can understand it. Not only for them to understand it, but for me to understand it. So my education helped me even from a writing standpoint.
Oh. Now, part of your education was right down here at ITC. So
yes.
You're a product of the AUC community, right?
Yes.
Can you, is there any experience down at ITC that you would say was a pivotal point for you, or a helpful point of you as you move forward?
Yes, it was. ITC helped me to do research better. Not only research, but also, I say my writing skill improved 100%, because you're always doing research and you're always doing writing. Right. So it helped me.
Great. Well, Dr. Holt, I appreciate that. We have got this book here in the library for anybody that wants to access it here in the library. But you can go on. Where can you get this book?
Right now, it's a self-published book, and it will be on Amazon in probably about 2 months.
Great, great. So they can just go into Amazon and put in Getting Into God's Word, Philippians, verse by verse study notes, and it's by Dr. William Holt. And Dr. Holt, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
You take care.